Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Terriers Talk. And we're doing an episode that we didn't expect to be doing this time last week. You will all have probably seen the news if this is the first time that you are seeing the news. Huddersfield Town and Neil Warnock are parting ways from each other. It comes this afternoon from a press conference. The hints were there after Saturday's game, where he said in his post-match press conference that he will speak about the matter on Monday afternoon. The press conference took place about 2 hours ago, so we're giving a bit of time to let things settle and have a look around for things that we can add into the podcast. So we're giving you as true reflection as we see it as possible. And yeah, immediate reaction, Jay. What's your thinking behind the entire thing?
Listen, I mean, when I kind of saw the news flying around Thursday, maybe predominantly Friday night, you were thinking, surely not, not this early in the season. Listen, we knew it was going to be a short-term plan. We knew it was going to be a short-term project. And maybe off the back of the transfer window where Warnock did say he was disappointed with the budgets and certain things that came from powers above, maybe you thought, might have been falling out or something like that. And he might have packed his bags and left. But now we know it's not the case. But yeah, listen, he's a football legend. He's a Huddersfield Town legend, as is Ronnie Jepson. And it's a real shame after how well they did from February last year until now for him to leave so soon. I'm really glad they've got a game against Stoke to kind of have one final send off. But um, I think Town fans will be feeling a bit better after reading all the press conference and kind of seeing the reaction that it was good terms. We'll get onto that, but immediate reaction from me is it's sad to lose a legend like Neil Warnock at the football club.
Yeah, I think I'd echo that entirely. I think the only thing that I'd really add to that is just the fact that it's it's 7 games into the season and it's a huge risk. Um,
Yeah,
you know, Jake Edwards, Kevin Nagel, the names get away from me. I do apologise, but people have come into the club and they've taken risks so far, and that's what we've needed to do. We've needed a massive overhaul, and to do that over the summer and be in a position where they now feel like they're ready to look at doing things for a long term project is it's promising, but it's also shocking. And I
yeah,
don't think it's outlandish to suggest that. I think everyone's thoughts when Warnock was reappointed was it's a good year long manager that we can get for a year. Things can steady the ship. Appointments can be
stability, isn't
made.
it? Yeah,
Yeah, it's
stability.
stability over a season to bring in whoever, whenever we'd like.
Yeah,
The fact that they now feel comfortable enough to move on from Warnock and enter the 3 year plan that they've got, which we'll obviously touch on more as we go on. But the fact that we're now in a place where the new people in place feel like that we're in a safe enough position that we can look to the future and look to get things started. It's promising, but obviously it's going to be a bit of a weird time to then go through that because you've not really got much security in this kind of period of who do we get and where do we get them from. So it does make you think kind of what's happened in the past few weeks because it said in the past few weeks pretty much that we've seen somebody come available, so it
yeah,
opens a lot of questions there as to who's come available and if they've not come available from a job, how have they come available? Is there a clause in
yeah.
their contract saying they can leave at this point, this, that, the other? So yeah, that's a long-winded process of my thoughts on it. I'll let you kind of get into the press conference and kind of any key points that you've seen from that, and then if there's any that I've got as well from that brief period of interview that we had.
So yeah, I think there's a very clear theme going on at Huddersfield Town right now, and that is transition, and that is new faces, new figures, and a new strategy. So this was Edwards. He said we made significant progress on and off the field with several key executives appointed rather. We've got commercial projects, we've got academy projects, we've got the stadium, and we've got Neil who's making good progress on the field. He's getting a lot of the group. We've got great players and seen some great results over the past couple of games. Agreed. Now, it seems like from what we know and how the board are operating that they think it's time to change over,
Yep.
pass over the baton. And whoever that is, I think, and I'm quite confident in saying this, we have a brilliant strategy to take this club forward. And it's really encouraging that we've seen a clear 3-year plan to get back to the promised land. And, we've just got to hope that is the case. Edwards
I'd
continues.
break in there just quickly and just say we haven't seen the plan yet because although it's been mentioned, I don't want to suggest that we've seen that plan as of yet. It's promising, and that's not me saying and try to be a killjoy saying
No, of
it's not
course.
happening, this, that, the other. But obviously, with this 3 year plan, there's got to be things put in place, and it's promising. Yes,
Yeah.
it's good that we've got something in place. We've got targets, whatnot. Obviously, that's brilliant. But we're still yet to see the full effect of that, and obviously, this appointment will go a long way of showing that
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
level of
No.
candidates.
Yeah.
So it's obviously a big appointment, but yeah, that 3 year plan, I think, if I look at the quote as well, we feel we're ready to move forward with a long term plan to drive back into the Premier League and make a longer term managerial appointment. So that suggests that they're wanting somebody that gets this season with the squad, learns the players, this, that, the other, learns the fan base, and then next summer we look to spend money potentially to get us there with a chance of maybe
Yeah.
going next season, and then this, that, the other. And then
But
we
I mean,
discussed the
that's the
timing of that
thing.
with Neil and spending time with his coaching staff. He's graciously agreed the time is to move on for that to happen.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, and I was going to kind of move on to that, but that is the thing. We've got people in now. I mean, they'll have a strategy,
Yeah,
but what we need to see now is the manager that we do bring in, whoever they are, they need to kind of talk and let the football do the talking because
yeah,
it's all really good having a structure behind the scenes, but what a football club is about is winning games and getting to the highest level possible. So that is what we need. I think that is probably one of the final pieces in the jigsaw that Nagel wants to achieve so far. And I think without that, it could turn really sour because you've got a manager who's managed, 1,600 games, the most in English football. And he's a history maker, he's a veteran, and he is one of the greatest managers to ever grace kind of English football. And the risk that we're taking and the risk that we're going to see, either pay off or not, is replacing him with whoever it is and them struggling. So it's not simple with Town, and it's never been simple with managers because I guess in the recent history, it's always been a gamble. And
yeah.
that gamble either does pay off, i.e., Wagner and Carlos,
Carlos, yeah,
although we didn't kind of reach the promised land, but and then they don't, you got Fotheringham and Seawer, stuff like that. But whoever it is, they've got a good team. They've got a fan base who I reckon will support them.
yeah,
Maybe if it's Nathan Jones or Jesse Marsh, it might take a bit of warming up. But that's football, and that's tribalism and rivalries that we do have. And Warnock, in true Warnock fashion, he goes, "I can't tell you who the new manager is because they've not told me, so I assume it's someone I don't like." Typical Warnock. It could be. I mean, Warnock knows everyone, and everyone knows Warnock, so it'll be interesting to see who it is. He kind of moves on to say Edwards told him after the West Brom game, so he had what's that, 2 weeks?
yeah. Which I personally think is really promising. Obviously, I
Yeah,
know that process kind of has gone on for a while, but the fact that rumors about his departure came on Friday night, so you look at what, a week there.
yeah,
I
six
don't, yeah,
days. Yeah,
weekdays, yeah. A week that it's been kept under wraps, and then you look at between the time period that they'll have told him that Stoke will be his last game. You've then got what, you've got 16, 17 days between West Brom game, after the West Brom game, and then the Coventry
and the
game to
Stoke
sort your
game,
managerial
Coventry.
appointment
Yeah,
out, or to revise who you want, or to approach people. This, that, the other. You've got a good period of time there to identify, interview, um, select
yeah.
whatever a manager that will come in, and it's obviously frustrating from Warnock's part of it, and obviously the fact that the players only found out on Friday morning, which is probably why things started to come out if more people from the club apart from Warnock
Yeah.
have been told. Um, so if they've only found out Friday, it'll mean that there's been that period there, and as much as possible for the players to play their art for Warnock in his past few games, get much out of games as they can, and then move forward. So
I mean,
it is promising.
I'll just say one thing. Sorry, Ben. If we can buy, if Kevin Nagel can buy a football club in 10 days,
Yeah,
we can appoint a worthy manager and have that kind of breaking in period in 16 days.
I
I'm
think
quite confident, but I mean, yeah, things are happening very quickly. I mean, if we can buy a football team in 10 days, we
yeah,
can surely appoint
I
a
think
decent manager.
the thing to consider as well is we've had longer than 16 days as well because
Yeah,
Warnock originally was going to stay on as an advisor. I believe that was what came out about it. And then obviously got the managerial job. So he was probably advising candidates from when he first joined, when he first started
and
speaking to
who
Nagel.
better? You know,
Yeah.
who better than Warnock to do that?
You've then got the summer period before Warnock was brought back in as manager, where they've been looking at targets, making a list. Then you've then got the period from after that where Warnock might have still been helping to choose a manager to take on from him. And also you've got the contacts from Jake Edwards, Matt Cartwright, who was the name I forgot earlier, who
Yeah,
have extensive contacts in football, both in England, probably in Europe,
and
and also America.
America, yeah, across the
Um,
world, yeah,
so you've got an extensive connection there, an extensive network of contacts there that can either advise on who to get or actually get themselves. So it's gonna be it's been a longer process, so it feeds more into the idea of like what Jake said. I'm just gonna move on to another quote here. Not
yeah,
falling out with anybody. Jake's come to me and said they want to move on, and management's the next step. I think management's the next decision, and obviously, like they've said, when the right candidate is available, you have to make the decision. And we've had a good grown up discussion. Neil has
yeah,
poured his
good.
heart out and soul into this. He's a winner, but as a club, this is a decision we had to make. We plan to announce a successor by the end of the week. So they've got the successor in mind. They'll probably have approached the successor at this point, but
Probably got him.
this has
Probably
been
got
a
him.
long process that hasn't just happened in the past 3 days. It hasn't happened in the past 16 days. The ideal candidate will have been there, or the ideal top three, top five candidates will have been there for probably about five
Months.
months now.
Yeah,
So,
and the thing is, I, I find it really encouraging how we knew at the start of the season, or even over the summer, that we weren't ready to appoint a project manager.
yeah,
And the thing that you don't want to do in football is rush anything, especially management, especially that figurehead who's going to drive your team into the season, because you want them to be as successful as possible. And when you sit down, and I'm guessing there'll be multiple discussions over the summer, and everyone will be saying, "Are we ready to appoint X, Y, and Z?" And then ultimately, the answer would probably be no. So what do? You could go back to someone who you know, bread and butter, simple.
yeah,
And I think, grown up discussions, as they've said, that is probably the best way to go around things, because if you handle it with a level of maturity and respect, what you're going to get back from Warnock is exactly the same. So he knows that he knew what was going to happen, and the fact we can move on with no bad blood and appoint a new manager, who we are now ready to do, is really encouraging.
yeah. It's there's so many things that you can look at, and I think it is one of them ones where you can look at it both sides of the coin. I think that's something that I've probably said too many times already this season, that you can look at things from both sides of the coin. But there's the very obvious side of the coin where, oh my God, Neil Warnock's going, panic, what's going on, and there's just complete panic there and so much disorder. And then there's the other side of it, which is kind of a case of you've got people in here that want the best for the club long term. That at the end of the day, it's an investment, and you will not be doing something damaging to an investment when you have Neil Warnock in charge of a football club. You would not be making that decision after a month and a half of the season to part ways with a manager who, like you say, is bread and butter. You know exactly what you're gonna get. You know exactly how you're gonna get. You know exactly when you're gonna get it. So the fact that they've now got people in place where they know they want things to be, even if they're not fully there yet. You know, we've just appointed a head of global football exposure, something like that. I can't remember the exact term of it, but we've appointed people like that, so it suggests that we're quite
It's
far along the
expansion, isn't it?
process. Yeah,
It is
exactly.
expansion.
We're quite along the process of um moving to this new way of operating if we're not there fully yet. So to
Yeah.
me, that says anyway that even if we're not there yet, we're at a place where the club is happy enough to protect that investment and move forward
And
with a
part ways with a
managerial
legend.
choice. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And
you
part
part
ways
ways
with
with a legend. Yeah.
part ways with someone that you know you're going to be, or you think you're going to be safe with without moving forward. So it's a risk. Football at the end of the day is a gambler's game. You can take risks, and those risks will either pay off or they won't. And you've kind of got to be able to be brave enough to take those decisions because you've got to. That's the beauty of football at times where you have to take that gamble and you've got to take the risk of is this going to be the right decision? And if Jake Edwards and Cartwright feel that this is the right move, and then you've also got Dave Baldwin as well, who will have been involved with this process at some
Yeah,
part and will be advising the club probably still. You've got an extensive amount of football knowledge there that will be involved with this decision to move forward. And if they believe that Warnock isn't the right man to take us forward any further than he has now, then so be it. And I think it's obviously a nerve wracking point of supporting the club because,
very much
like
so. Yeah,
as we've said so many times already, we know what we get with Warnock. Everybody knows what you get with Warnock.
yeah.
The fact the club feel ready to move on from that fills me with a bit of excitement.
Also excited. I mean, excitement, and this is what I was just going to ask you now. I mean, we've seen some in the what nearly 3 hours of this news kind of being live and official. We've seen excitement, and we've also seen a lot of panic. And um, I think I kind of land somewhere in the middle because, as I've just said, you know what you're getting with Warnock. But also the fact that we've got a completely new board, completely new management who are making very big decisions to get this club back to the Premier League. I know we don't know who it is, and I know this could end up being absolutely catastrophic. And we're back to the drawing board, looking at managers' odds for someone else in 3 months. It is exciting. I'm not panicking. I don't think. Whilst it's sad to see Warnock go, I'm not panicking. I just want to, before we kind of talk about potential candidates, get your thoughts because I think we're kind of on the same page here. I'm not sure. Are you panicking?
No, ultimately we've not seen enough from Nagel, Edwards, Cartwright, Baldwin to sit here and confidently say I have 100% trust in the fact that they're going to do the best decision ever. And
No, of
by the end
course
of this
not.
season, we've gone up as champions. Josh Cromer scores 50 goals because of the new
Beat
manager,
Leeds
this, that,
six
the other.
nil, stuff
We
like that.
don't know. We don't have enough exposure to them to
No,
say that. However, what you've got so far is they're in this for the long term. They're making advancements to the club that protects their investment and betters it.
yeah,
This manager they want for a long term position, and realistically, with all due respect to Warnock, you pretty much can't go any further than this with Warnock because if he, hypothetically speaking, we either go up or we go down this season, you've then not got anything to build off, really,
no,
because the past 12 months you've got of playing with a manager like Warnock. So making this decision early, whilst it's controversial, might be the best thing for the club because then you've
yeah,
got as much time as possible for somebody to, if either of those situations do happen or we stay up and we just stay where we are, then we've got a manager then who's been at the club for that period of time, and then we'll have a large part of his contract left at the club, who we will look to build on from. So I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm worried. Obviously it's a massive appointment. There's no shying away from that. There's nothing that you can really suggest other than it's a massive appointment. It is massive for the next few years of this football club. This
huge,
decision.
yeah, yeah,
Because say for example we go down this season, you're looking at 18 months until you're back in the championship if you do go back up first time of asking.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's got to be something that protects the long term future of the club. So it will be it'll be nerve wracking, but
Yeah.
I'm confident that they're going to do the right thing, and I think that's not an unknown thing for us to be thinking, or not a outlandish thing for us to be thinking. And
No,
kind of
I
looking at some of the
agree.
names that have been suggested to come in fills me with a bit of confidence, but obviously it could also be somebody that's not been linked, and I think it's probably the perfect time to then move on to those who have been linked, and we've got
To
a
work, yeah,
list on our Zoom call. I'm going to start with ones from the Yorkshire Post from May. So bearing in mind this is from May, Michael Duff was on this list as well, so you can tell that this was before Warnock even came back in. You've got the likes of Wilder, Chris Wilder, that is, Nathan Jones, Scott Parker, Lee Boyer, Bruno Lage, which was, as they said, it was a bit of an outlandish suggestion, and then you got Slaven Bilic, and then the ones that are suggested now or have been the ones I've seen on DATM and Twitter and things like that. So obviously pinch of salt and whatnot. You've got Djukanovic, Jesse Marsh, Wayne Rooney, Scott Parker again, Frank Lampard, Darren Moore, and then Nuno Espirito Santo, which again very outlandish, but it's a name out there,
Yeah.
and it's a conversation starter, is what it is. So, is there any there that really take your interest straight away, Jay?
I mean, listen, if if I if I was to choose, um, Darren Moore would be brilliant. Um, Scott Parker, he knows how to get teams into the Premier League, but I'm not sure whether Scott Parker's ego would bring him to a club such as Huddersfield. Um, I mean, Lampard, he's very hit and miss, isn't he? Whether we can afford him is another thing. Rooney is one that you're looking at with links to the MLS and Jake Edwards, so maybe that could be um, an option. Um, Jesse Marsh, I mean, Leeds connections aside, again, he knows what the Championship's about, he knows what the Premier League's about. Um, I mean, if I had to have one, probably Darren Moore.
All right. Is there any kind of reason that you'd say Darren Moore above some of the others, or is it?
I mean, we know what Huddersfield Town are about, and we know the pride that comes behind playing for Huddersfield Town and representing it and being a fan. And I think you can draw a lot of similarities between us and his side at Wednesday last season.
Even aside at
Our
West Brom?
yes, West Brom. He's a very, very spirited manager, and he's very, you know, off the pitch, leads by example. On the pitch, you do not give up with him. I mean, just look at what Chef Wednesday did last season, battling for promotion, didn't get automatics, battled in the playoffs, 4-0 down, and you want someone who will man manage because he has brilliant relationships. He did have brilliant relationships with his players at Chef Wednesday, and will also, when we're not playing well, he would say, right, come on, let's lift it here. And I think he would buy into our philosophy. I'm not saying anyone else would, but he is one man who I would love to see represent Huddersfield Town.
Yeah, I think, for example, that video of him for Higher Silver Lining, of him just clapping along with the fans, I think that's something that you will get with Darren Moore. You get a manager that buys into not just the actual managerial side of it, but buys into the club, buys into the local area, and that is something that Nagel's been really, really big on, somebody that buys into the local area, and looking to develop the local area and things like that. So potentially he'd be a strong candidate. I mean, I'm going to suggest a few more names here as well, just based off of Transfermarkt and what the quote was with somebody becoming available or something like that. I've just had a look at managers that have recently been sacked, and you've got Bruce Arena from, I believe that's New York Revolution or
Patriots, I think.
New
New
England
England
Revolution.
Patriots.
Yeah, New England
Yep.
Revolution. And then you've got another one who's just left America as well, who I cannot remember for the life of me. But if they wanted to go down the American route, potentially looking at those, Robin Fraser's his name was at Colorado Rapids, I believe it was. So whether those two could be an option, I'm not too sure. But I think, if being completely honest, I think if you were to take one from either Djokanovic, Jesse Marsh, Rooney, or Nathan Jones or Darren Moore, I think if it was between those five, I'd be very happy with it. I know it doesn't go, that's my favourite. I know that's a very broad list, but I think with all those five, you get a very decent manager. For different reasons, Djokanovic knows what this division's about. Been in and around the division for a long time.
Yep.
Jesse
Experience.
Marsh kind of feeds more into the American stuff, the global stuff, because obviously he's a well known manager. Rooney says it all. Has experience in the Championship, global
Yeah.
name, fits that kind of mold. Darren Moore, kind of more the local area stuff. Again, a good manager, has experience in the Championship, and then obviously Nathan Jones, who works on a smaller budget, as we've seen with Luton, and did really well. Obviously, Luton have continued to do well after that, but that's probably because of how Luton are run as a football club.
Yeah.
But he is still a decent manager. He didn't show it at Southampton, and
No.
not really with Stoke, but Luton obviously is his best work. So whether that could be an option, I don't really think there's any other names. I'm looking at the ATM, and there's a poll here. We've got Dean Smith on there, maybe Chris Hughton, um, Jesse Marshall, Liam Manning, Liam Richardson. It's names like this. Again, this is from I believe it's from May because Chris Wilder was favourite at this point, and Neil Warnock's still on the list. I'm guessing it was from February May time. So yeah, there's that. So whether any of those names come in that we've mentioned, maybe it's somebody completely different. Obviously, we won't know until the end of this week. Maybe even longer than that. In an ideal world, I think it is the end of the week, but we shall have to wait and see. And I think that pretty much covers us for everything, or at least as immediate reactions, unless we're missing anything from your perspective, Jay.
Nothing. Just one more thing from me. I think every Huddersfield Town fan will echo this, and to say how grateful we are for kind of Neil and Ronnie and a footballing legend to be around our club and saving us from relegation and setting us off on the right foot this season. So yeah, I'm just thankful.
Yeah, 100%. I think you look at the work from last season, you look at the work from the start of the season to now. If Town win against Stoke on Wednesday, I believe we can
3 in a
potentially
row.
results going in our favour, this or the other. It could put us just outside the top six. Now that's not me saying Warnock's put us in a position to reach on for top six. It's far too early to call that, but it puts us in a very good stead for the rest of the season. Confidence will be flowing. It's a good time for a manager to come in and go, I can build on this.
Completely.
So I think with that, it leaves us in a good position. Obviously, echoing your words, we're all very, very grateful for the work that Neil's done, not only this season, but over the summer coming back in, last season, obviously saving the club from relegation. Um, and it's going to be hopefully as interesting as a continuation of this season, as it kind of has been under Warnock. And here's to hoping that this next appointment is is the next step forward in the 3 year plan.
Yeah.
And we shall see you probably tomorrow, maybe even again tonight for a preview slash review of last game, with it being a Wednesday night game, and we'll probably see you again in the next few days for a reaction to who is the next manager of Huddersfield Town Football Club after Neil Warnock's departure. Thank you for listening as always. Please like, share, and subscribe, and we shall see you next time.